It is a cold morning and you are standing in the kitchen, still half asleep, and you reach for one of those little paper cups of instant soup. You tear the foil lid, you pour in the powder, that strange pale dust that smells faintly of salt and something you cannot name. You add hot water from the kettle. $1 a cup, maybe $1.50 now. You stir it with a plastic spoon and you drink it down, and it is warm, and it is salty, and it is gone in a moment. And an hour later you are hungry again, and if someone asked you what good thing you had put into your body that morning, you could not answer. That little paper cup is a thin and hollow imitation of something real, something older, something far better, and the real thing costs less and takes almost no more time to make and has kept people healthy and warm for many hundreds of years. Come with me into my kitchen on this same cold morning. My wife Yuki is standing at the stove with a small pot, the same small pot she has used for longer than some of you have been alive. Into it goes hot water, a piece of dried kelp, dark and leathery, and a small pinch of dried fish flakes to make the broth we call dashi. And then, once the pot is off the heat, 1 spoonful of a soft brown paste from a tub in our refrigerator. Miso. She lowers the miso into a little ladle, loosens it with a spoon of the warm broth, and stirs it back through the pot until the whole thing turns cloudy and golden. She drops in a few cubes of soft tofu, a pinch of seaweed, a scatter of green onion, and she pours it steaming into a bowl. The smell fills the whole kitchen, and that bowl plainly costs about 25 cents. A bowl of real soup, savory and deep and gently nourishing, for a quarter of the price of that paper cup. And I drink one nearly every single day, and I have for most of my 81 years. A single cup of instant soup is $1, often more now. And what is in it? Read the little packet someday, if the letters are large enough. Salt, and more salt, and dried flavorings made in a factory, and a long list of words no grandmother ever spoke. A can of soup is $2 or $3, and it is mostly water and salt as well. A bowl of soup from a cafe is $5, $6, $7 once you count everything. A person who leans on these things morning after cold morning, believing there is no other way, spends perhaps $20, $30, $40 a month on warm salted water sold in a package. $300, $400, $500 across a single year. My name is Kenji Takara. I am 81 years old, and I live in Okinawa, in the south of Japan, on an island where people have long lived among the longest lives on this earth, and where a bowl of miso soup is not a special or a fancy thing but the plainest, most everyday thing there is. Drunk at breakfast, the way you might drink your morning coffee, without a second thought. Yuki has made this soup every single morning since she was a young woman, and she learned it as a girl at her own mother's elbow, standing on a wooden stool to see into the pot. Her mother made it before her, in the lean years after the war, when a little miso and some hot water was what there was, and it was enough. And her mother's mother made it before that. In our homes, a morning without miso soup is a strange and empty morning. It is the small, warm foundation that the whole day is built upon. It is the first kind thing you do for yourself when you wake. We have a word here for the sorrow of waste. Motenai, and there is waste in that paper cup, more than one kind. The waste of the money, yes, but also the waste of all the quiet goodness that a real bowl gives and that a packet of powder simply cannot. Miso is a living food, made slowly, patiently, over months and sometimes years. To trade it away for a fistful of factory salt in a paper cup is a small sorrow, repeated every day. That trade we end today. There is no money, plainly, in teaching you that 1 spoon of miso and a cup of hot broth beats the packet in every single way that matters. In taste, in nourishment, in cost, in dignity. There is a great deal of money in the little cups, sold by the billion around the world. So the real bowl sits quiet in old kitchens like mine, unadvertised, unsold, and most people never once learn how simple it is, how cheap it is, and how genuinely good it is. They were not told. They were only sold the cup. By the end of this video, you will know how to make a real bowl of miso soup in about 5 minutes. The broth beneath it, the miso itself, and the simple, humble things you drop into it. And you will understand, from the inside, why I choose to make it nearly every day of my life. I will give you the honest science of why it nourishes and why it is different from the powder, the exact method step by step, the one single mistake that ruins the whole bowl, the honest safety notes so you come to no harm, and the true cost, counted out plainly, so you never reach for the paper cup again without knowing exactly what you are choosing. So let me tell you plainly and truly why I make this soup 5 times a week. Because the reasons are real, and I will not dress them up beyond what is honest. It is not only thrift, though thrift is a good enough reason on its own. It is what miso is. Miso is a fermented food. At its heart, it is only soybeans, salt, and a culture, a particular friendly mold called koji, left together to ripen slowly in the dark over many months, sometimes over years. And that slow fermentation does something real and worth understanding. As the miso ripens, the fermentation breaks the soybean down into things the body takes up easily. It fills the paste with living cultures of the same friendly kind that are good for the belly, and it deepens the whole food into that rich, round, savory taste the Japanese named umami, the deep fifth taste that makes a broth feel like a true meal instead of like warm water. So a bowl of miso soup is warm, and it is deeply savory, and it is gentle on the stomach, and it carries a little real protein from the miso and from the tofu, and a little quiet goodness from the seaweed and the greens you add to it. Now, I will be honest with you here, plainly because honesty is the whole foundation of this kitchen. I am not going to tell you that miso soup cures illness or works some kind of magic on the body, because that would be a lie, and I do not lie to you. What I will tell you is the truth, that it is real, honest, living food, properly balanced and gentle, and that a warm bowl of it to begin the day steadies a person in a way the paper cup never can. That is why I drink it. That is why Yuki's mother drank it, and her mother before her. It has fed and warmed and steadied the people of these islands through hard times and good times alike for a very long time, and it works for the simplest and most trustworthy of reasons, because it is real food and the packet is not. Now what you need, very little, and nearly all of it keeps a long, long time, which is part of its quiet genius. You need miso paste, a tub of it bought from the refrigerated section of the store, and once opened it keeps for many months in your own refrigerator, so one tub carries you a long way. Know that there are different kinds. There is lighter miso, often called white miso, which is sweeter, milder, and gentler. And there is darker miso, often called red miso, which is stronger, saltier, and deeper. For a beginner, I would tell you plainly to start with a light or a medium miso because it is the most forgiving and the easiest to love. You need something to make the broth. Traditionally, that is dashi, made from a piece of dried kelp called kombu, and a pinch of dried fish flakes called katsuobushi, or, for speed on a busy morning, from dashi granules stirred straight into hot water, which is honest and quick and no shame at all. And in a true pinch, on the barest morning, even plain hot water will make a humble, honest bowl. Then the soft things to drop in, none of them required, all of them welcome. A little tofu, cut into small cubes, some greens, like spinach or thinly sliced green onion, a small pinch of dried seaweed called wakame, which swells and softens beautifully in the hot broth. But hear me plainly, miso and broth alone with nothing else at all is already a true and complete bowl. Everything else is only what you add on a richer day. Now the method, step by step, and it is quick and kind and hard to get truly wrong, save for one mistake I will warn you of clearly when we reach it. Step 1. Make the broth. Warm about 1.5 cups of water for each person in a small pot. If you are making dashi from scratch, put a piece of dried kelp into the cold water first and heat it slowly over a gentle flame, and take the kelp out just before the water comes to a boil. Never let the kelp boil, for it turns the broth bitter and a little slippery. Then, off the heat, add a pinch of the dried fish flakes. Let them sink and steep for a minute or two and strain the broth clear. If instead you are using dashi granules, simply stir the amount the package tells you into your hot water, and your broth is done. You want the broth hot and steaming, but not boiling violently. Step 2. Add your firmer additions now, while there is still gentle heat. Drop in the small cubes of tofu or any vegetable that wants a minute of cooking, a few thin slices of carrot, a little sliced mushroom, whatever you have. Let them warm through and soften in the hot broth for a minute or two. If you are using dried wakame seaweed, add a small pinch of it now as well, and watch with a little wonder as it swells from a few dry flakes into soft green ribbons. Step 3, and this is the single step that matters most in the whole bowl, so listen to me closely and plainly. Take the pot off the heat or turn the flame down as low as it will go before you add the miso. Do not add the miso to a boiling pot. Then take your spoonful of miso paste, about 1 level tablespoon for each person, and put it first into a small ladle or a cup. Add a little of the hot broth to it, right there in the ladle, and stir it with your spoon until the miso has dissolved into a smooth, thin, lump-free liquid. Only then, stir that dissolved miso gently back through the pot. This small extra step does 2 important things. It dissolves the miso evenly, so you do not end up with pale lumps of undissolved paste in your bowl. And it lets you add the miso gently off the boil, which protects it. Because here is the one firm rule of miso soup, the rule that separates a good bowl from a flat and ruined one. Never let the miso boil. A hard boil kills those living cultures we spoke of, and it drives off the delicate, savory aroma that is the whole soul of the soup, leaving behind something flat, harsh, and overly salty. So, dissolve the miso, stir it through gently, and keep the soup just below a simmer from that moment on. Warm, never boiling. Step 4. Add your most delicate greens at the very last. The spinach, the sliced green onion, These want only a few seconds in the hot soup to wilt and soften and turn bright. Add them, give the pot one gentle stir, and then pour the soup at once into your bowl and drink it while it is hot and steaming and fragrant, the aroma rising into your face. That is the whole of it. 5 minutes, start to finish, from cold kitchen to warm bowl. Now, the honest scope, for I will always tell you the plain truth, even when it is not the thing that sells. Miso soup is a safe, gentle, and forgiving food, and there is little that can go wrong in the making of it. But let me be plain and clear about the one real thing you must know. Miso is salty. It is, by its very nature, a fermented and salted food, and the soup you make from it carries real salt. For most people, in a normal bowl, drunk in reasonable measure, that is no trouble at all. It is simply part of the food. But if your doctor has asked you to watch your salt, for your blood pressure, or for your heart, then take honest note of this. Use a little less miso in your bowl. Choose the reasonable measure over the many bowls a day habit. You can make a lighter, less salty bowl very easily, and it is still good. That is the one caution I owe you, and I give it to you plainly rather than pretend it away. Beyond the salt, keep your miso covered and cold in the refrigerator, where as a preserved, fermented food it will keep well for many months without spoiling. Simply treat it cleanly, taking it out with a clean spoon each time, as you would treat any good food you mean to keep. And if you ever add a raw egg or other quick perishable things to your soup, treat those with the same care and the same honest caution I have spoken to you about before. Now Matainai, the heart of the whole thing, for this humble bowl, is one of the finest friends that the odds and ends of a kitchen will ever have, and once you understand that, you will never look at your leftovers the same way. Miso soup welcomes almost everything. The last few cubes of tofu going soft in their package, the tired half of a carrot at the back of the drawer, the outer leaves of a cabbage that you were about to throw away, the single soft mushroom, the green tops of the onions you saved on the windowsill, a little of yesterday's cooked vegetable, a few clams if you are lucky, or a scrap of fish. All of it belongs in the pot. A bowl of miso soup is the place where the small, lonely, leftover pieces of a kitchen come together and become something warm and whole and dignified, so that nothing at all need be thrown away. And remember, too, the very makings of the broth. If you made your dashi from scratch, do not throw away the used kelp and the spent fish flakes when you strain them out. Chop that softened kelp into thin strips, simmer it briefly with a little soy sauce and a touch of sugar, and it becomes a small, savory side dish to eat with your rice. The spent fish flakes, dried again and seasoned, become a topping for rice as well. So, the soup begins your day, and its own humble makings turn around and feed you a second time. Nothing wasted. Nothing at all. That is Matainai, standing quietly at the morning stove. Now the honest math, plainly, count it out so you can see it with your own eyes. A tub of miso paste cost perhaps $4 or $5, and it holds enough for 50 bowls or more, so that is well under 10 cents of miso in each bowl. Add to that the broth, which is pennies, the small handful of tofu, the pinch of seaweed, and a few greens you very likely already have, and call the whole finished bowl 20 to 30 cents, and I am being generous to my own side of the argument, even at that. Now set that against what it replaces, the paper cup at $1 or more, the can at $2 or $3, the cafe bowl at $6 or $7. If you drink this soup 5 times a week, as I do, made at home for a quarter, instead of bought for $1 or far more, you save several dollars every single week. Call it $20, $30 a month. Well over $200, likely closer to $300 across a year. And that for a bowl that is warmer, richer, deeper, and far more nourishing than any packet of powder could ever hope to be. That, plainly, is why I make it 5 times a week. The money saved and the goodness gained, both at once, every morning. So here is what I ask you to do this week. One simple thing. Go to the store and buy 1 tub of miso paste, a light or a medium one, to begin. And, if you can find it, a small bag of dried wakame seaweed. Then, on one cold morning, do not reach for the paper cup. Warm a cup and a half of water in a small pot. Take it off the heat. Dissolve a spoonful of miso into a little of that hot water in a cup until it is smooth, and stir it back through the pot. Drop in a little tofu and a pinch of the seaweed. Pour it hot into a bowl and drink it slowly, and taste how real and deep and honest it is against the thin memory of the packet. I think that, like me, you will begin to want it in the mornings and to reach for it before you are even fully awake. And tell me something in the comments, for I would truly like to know. In your family, when you were young, was there a warm thing your mother or your grandmother made every single morning? A soup, a broth, a small humble bowl or cup that began the day and that you can still remember the smell of? What was in it? Who made it? Those everyday morning rituals, those small, warm habits handed quietly down, are exactly the kind of wisdom that fades and is lost forever when no one thinks to write it down. So share yours with me here. I read every single one. Next time, since today we made the warm morning bowl of miso, I will show you how Yuki makes the dashi broth that lies beneath it, the gentle stock from just 2 humble things drawn from the sea, and how she uses even those 2 humble things a second time, so that truly nothing at all is wasted. The same care, the same patience, the same waste-nothing heart. Subscribe so that it does not pass you by. Until then, remember the whole of it in one breath. Warm a cup of broth, dissolve a spoon of miso into it gently, away from the boil. Add a little tofu and a few greens, and the paper cup is behind you for good. Trade it at last for a real bowl, for pennies, to warm and steady the start of your day.